Kumbaya, my lord. This isn't just kumbaya talk. Purpose drives impact. Looking to empower up your day? Tune in to Evolve Together with Empower People on ESPN Richmond, powered by MikeKingBiz. Join me, host and Empower People founder Tiffany Joy Greene, MBA, as I bring dynamic leaders, change makers, and entrepreneurs to share their journeys, challenges, and successes while driving their purpose to drive positive impact and empower people. Empower People is an organization that provides education, connection, and support to mission and purpose-driven leaders to drive positive impact and empower people. Catch us every Tuesday at 5 a.m. on ESPN Richmond and Empower People today. What are you waiting for? We even have a free membership. That's right, free. Visit www.empowerpeople.org. You can also visit us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Evolve together.
MikeKingBiz here, host of On the Mic with Mike, Richmond's premier radio program, was heard as part of MikeKingBiz Radio Network, which is ESPN Richmond 106.1 daily from 5 to 7 a.m. The Choice on 5.3 every day from 2 to 3 p.m., as well as International Business Growth Radio. That is Saturdays 10 a.m. Eastern. That's where you find us. That's where you make changes, talk and talk. On the Mic with Mike, MikeKingBiz Radio is the premier business radio program in Central Virginia.
I feel pumped. Lose yourself. Today, welcome to the Evolve Together with Empower People show. Empower People, if you don't know by now, I don't know why you don't, because I say it all the time, every week, all of the time. We're an organization that offers education, connection, and support to mission and purpose-driven leaders. This is why we have Michelle Rollins here today to drive positive impact and empower people. You can find us on empowerpeople.org. That's MPWRPeople.org, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And I'm going to throw a little shout out to Parker.
Oh, sure. Yes.
Because we're on YouTube and Parker's helping me a little bit on YouTube. I'm going to say, I only got so many hours in a day, but when you got like the mad dog genius who's only 12 years old who can help you with YouTube, you take advantage of it, right? So thank you, Parker. But I have Michelle here today, and I know we're going to go really off topic because we're going to do a new subject. It's called purpose. I know. I'm sorry. There's just a little bit of sarcasm in my humor. So we're going to talk a little bit about purpose today. I know we're going off the rails here, but we're going to talk about purpose. And I want to talk with Michelle today. Michelle knows a thing or two about purpose, but I don't want to steal your story because your story is your story. So if you could share with the listeners out there what your purpose is in that story of how you uncovered what that purpose was.
So thank you for putting me on the spot, Tiffany. No,
it's what I do well.
So yes, I feel that my purpose is giving time and having an impact on the world, changing one community at a time. And I've been doing it since I was a little child, volunteering, giving time to different organizations, to my church, whatever it was at the time. But as time went on, life happened. I joined the military and wanted to do that as a career, as a long-term career. But, I was thrown a different kind of a different lane. I found out that I had an incurable medical condition, and I had to get a lot of surgeries, a lot of treatment, a lot of testing out of state. It wasn't the most ideal situation, but I've had an amazing support system at home, my husband, my children. It kind of allowed me to continue growing and serving my communities, and it led me to being an amazing grant writer expert, to also being able to form long-term community connections, and really find my niche of who I want to serve and how. So I may not be wearing the uniform anymore, but I am still serving our military communities, our veterans, as well as when I came out of the military, I went into education, and I loved being a teacher, but I wanted to take that one more step further. And I noticed that I would always give my afternoons to children, volunteering to tutor them, to help them if they had a family problem. And I wanted to do more. I started fundraising when children experienced different difficulties and needed more support. And that kind of led me to where I am. And I love what I do. It started before the show Mike King. It started before Tiffany's show. Before people really knew me. I did it quietly, privately, with my family in tow. When I say that it is a family affair, it is. I mean, my 12-year-old that we're talking about how great and technology savvy he is. Well, he's been helping and volunteering since he was 2.5 years old. My oldest that's at West Point, he has been giving time since I think he was 7 or 8 years old. And it wasn't just a volunteering calling. It was that was our duty. That was our mission. And we believe in mission before self, because I'm also a military spouse and not just a veteran. And my son also, again, attends West Point. I've put that in there. I just saw him, and I'm very proud of him because he's carried the lessons that we've given him and taught him and moved on to bigger leadership roles. And my purpose is serving, giving back, and being able to help so many different organizations, people in general, businesses. I mean, again, I'm on Tiffany's show. We are able to really kind of bounce back with ideas with one another and being able to really dig in some things that why we are in line so much. And leadership is one, being able to really see the purpose in helping people and not just saying yes to everything. And just because somebody comes to us and asks for help, sometimes we're not in line with that. And I've been doing this a long time, again, before everybody knew. And I really love it. I see the changes it's making in the community. When I get to meet not only grant makers, but the site visits, the missions, the EDs, the executive directors, the founders. And when you really do get to see with the impact of the mission, that is really the coolest part ever, is getting people to believe and feel what you're telling them about this amazing organization. So I feel like my purpose is giving back, giving time, and having that impact in the world and being a change maker. So I think I answered your question, maybe a little bit too much there.
I think you knocked off 2 or 3, but that's okay. But I think what's really important, I think everybody listening to you can feel, right? They can feel your purpose. They can feel as you talk about it, right? It's authentic. It's genuine. It's sincere. And I think that's why we are what I call simpatico or purpose aligned, because we understand something fundamental. Now, when you're writing grants for like nonprofits, right? You're not doing it for profit. And oftentimes in the show, I talk about, purpose before profit.
Yes.
But purpose before revenue, purpose before income. But like you and I have talked, right? Just because you're purpose focused doesn't mean we're saying, well, money's not important.
Right.
Would you kind of hit on, because this is kind of hitting on what you do for a living. And I know we didn't touch on this before, Hannah, but it's organic. So when you're writing a grant, right? What does when you're writing that, what does the person receiving that want to see? It's kind of like a business plan. They want to see some sort of return, right?
They do. But they also want to see a compelling story behind it, because they read, especially the folks that are looking at grants, that you're submitting the grant to the grant maker. There is a team behind there, whether it's a board of directors. They could be board of directors that are getting paid or unpaid, but then they might have a committee that's also overseeing the grant. But the proposal they want to see that sticks out. Some proposals also include videos now, and they don't necessarily need a video that is composed from a marketing agency, because sometimes the ones that are the local ones that are the ones receiving the most money because of the authentic video that has been created. Yeah.
When you use this, Michelle.
Yeah. So proposals, when I sit down and write them, it isn't just about, you need to make sure you incorporate all the pieces, but it's really about sharing that mission, allowing them to also feel that mission, to understand, if they're not sitting there, but they want to feel like they're sitting there, and they get a kind of like a glimpse of that mission and of what's going on with those programs and where their money's going to. And again, longevity is the key. It's not about what you can get now, but maybe what you can get later and continue that relationship and continue that return for years to come.
What I like about what you're saying there is, yesterday I was having a conversation with somebody and I said, do you realize, we were talking about a lot of stuff, so I'm taking this little excerpt of it. But I said, do you realize that when you spend your money, you're voting?
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
every dollar, wherever you're putting your dollar, it's like placing your vote. And it's saying, this is what's important to me.
Mhm.
And it's not just about what's important to me in terms of the service or the product I receive. It's just saying, I believe in what you're doing too.
Mhm.
So that's why I always say nonprofits and for-profits are the
Mhm.
same, because as you were just talking about the
Yes.
grant process, right? They want to give their money to something that there's a return, right?
Yes.
I want to get results from the money
Yes.
giving to you,
Yes.
but I want to feel good about it too,
Right.
right?
And then there's so many steps to it. I mean, it's not just, oh, I see a grant maker. Let's write this. I know about this grant. Let's go ahead. I want, Michelle, I want you to write it. No, it's first, you got to make sure that you're a good fit. You want to connect to that grant maker. You want to send just an email or make a call. They appreciate calls. Some of them really like taking the time out and you're calling them and explaining who you are, what you do, and about the mission. And then once you'll know, Sabatico, that's what you said. That's really what it's about. They want to make sure you're a good fit for their organization. And it's time. So, I don't want to go into a grant knowing we're not a good fit and write it and, take hours away from that nonprofit. And while I do serve on some board of directors for free, I also do this for a living. So I really try to create a strategy that works best for each client that I represent, and use the time wisely to find the right fit to organizations, and the return. You want the return back, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you connect with that grant maker. And then when you write your proposal, there's sometimes some steps prior to it, like the letter of intent. A lot of times they'll want a letter of intent that takes almost as long as the actual grant application. And then after the grant application, then you have to also follow up, and there's other steps to it. They may want to have a meeting. They may want to have a site visit. I recently did a site visit with the grant maker, spent almost all day with them. And they had questions, and I worked with the founder to sit down and we discussed everything, went over things a little bit more in detail because they wanted to take what they learned on paper and that application and learn more. And then they wanted to go see the mission, boots on the ground at the mission, at the organization sites. And it really opened their eyes. Wow, this is so impactful. And now we're in our final stages, and it's still a lot of great grants take several months to even get to the end. And then still you're waiting 6 weeks for the award. And then after that, there is a post-grant reports that just keep going, sometimes maybe more than 2 times. I mean, I have one that's, I think, every quarter. And they want to know where their return went, where their money went, how it was broken down, budget, and then also how many were served. So again, when you are looking for grants, whether you're a business organization, you want to make sure that you know really the details of that process. It's not an overnight thing. It's not a 10-minute thing. Even the folks say that there's easy ones. Those take time. I mean, there's portals to be had. You have to sign up for them. You got to wait till the email comes back and sign in and put all the, the pre-information of who you are, what you do, what organization you are, all of that. And yet you got to get approval and wait again. And then sometimes it's connected to another portal, and technology may be at our fingertips, but it doesn't always work as quick as our fingertips.
A lot of times for me, I feel like it doesn't, but let's just say, so 2 things that came to mind when you were talking about the process, because again, part of what I preach, and I know you believe the same thing too, is a nonprofit is still a business. So
Yes.
for the nonprofits and for-profits have way more in common than
Yes.
they do different. So as you were talking about the grant writing process, you know what I was thinking about? If I'm a for-profit listening to the show, is like, that doesn't sound so different than applying for a loan or getting investors.
Right?
Does it?
Well, grants are a little different. There's different types of grants, and there's some grants, you don't necessarily have to pay back the grants like you do a loan. And in grants, when it comes to education, for instance, if you have a child that's in college and there's different types of grants, you really got to read the fine print, because sometimes a grant you do have to pay back. It's not as, oh, it's a grant, I got it.
Or you got to match it.
Oh, yes. Matching. Yes. Yes. That's just something else that, and I can't forget about it. It's like in so many different tabs of mine and folders as a grant writer. So, but yes, and businesses are wrapped up in almost every nonprofit, because a lot of times, and I've just seen this, by the way, businesses tend to have, the founder especially will have a business and then they want to do more and have a bigger impact than just their vision and mission of their business. So they go another step and they have a nonprofit, but sometimes they don't understand some of the ins and outs. And that's where I come in. A lot of them call me, say, Michelle, can you help me? And it's a learning curve. And it really takes a very dynamic and transparent leader to be able to sit down and have those hard conversations, because you have to know that you're not going to necessarily see your return right away. You have to know that this is a process, and where you are and the information that I start giving you and provide for you will continue being built. And within a couple months, probably about 6 months to 12 months, you'll start seeing a return, but not right away, because for one, you've got to kind of get on the radar of these grant makers. You know, some, they have returning grant makers all the time. They've already decided, hey, we're giving our funds to this organization. And then others, they want to see new upcoming nonprofits and they want to build a relationship. They want to volunteer with that organization, and they want to partner. A lot of times, if they see that that program is a good fit, they'll come in and say, what can I do? How can we help? How can we have our employees come in? Sometimes employees, great corporations will have days where they get paid to come volunteer. And that is the amazement magic right there, is when the whole team comes out, they give time. And then also they don't only bring out the check for the time of the grant award, but they come out and give time for that year. And then they want to continue because it had such an impact on each volunteer when they came out. They were able to go and share their story. And really that's what it's about, is taking that information, just like you and I, we've met, we've been able to continue sharing, collaborating, and that's really where the magic happens. So
Yeah. There's no I in team.
No.
Right.
no, it is a team. I may be a consultant, but I work with every organization as a team. And I always tell them that I work hard to get have as much impact as possible for their organization. And then I set it up where they have more than they started with, even if they, need to part ways for finance reasons, or just because maybe they've moved forward and it's time for a new change, which happens. That's why I'm a consultant, just like realtors. We're all independent contractors, and we just, that's just the way it is. So, I really enjoy working with so many different organizations and being able to, build relationships and connections and really seeing the impact it's had. I mean, we're sitting here in Mike King's studio, for instance, and Mike King, gives back to the community, and he's given to many organizations that I represent or have represented. And that keeps on going. It doesn't stop. And that's the beauty of it, is people see that. I mean, there was folks that came in last week in the studio and they noticed, you also gave to that same, oh, how amazing. It's just that it's a full circle. That's what it's about. It's just helping one another and really trying to make the world better.
Wait, I think that's purpose.
Yes, right?
Strike the,
You gotta love
strike the
Tiffany.
violence.
And this comes back to Tiffany too. And this is all organic. I'm a very script kind of person. I write for a living. What do you expect? But Tiffany, I met her a couple months ago, but I've seen her on the show longer. And then I wanted to connect with her because I felt we both were kind of in line in the same space, because we both believe in being strategic leaders. We both believe in serving with a purpose, and not just, anybody that comes in, sure, I'll help you. Yes, we all need money to survive. We all need to buy groceries and take care of our kids and our families and pay our bills. But
Mike's grandkids. Don't forget Mike's grandkids.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I honestly, I've given so many hours, and I still give a lot of hours of volunteer time. I even give back with my clients. I always try to give some time back. I volunteer for a lot of the organizations for which I serve as a consultant, and I don't get paid for that. I actually take time to meet with their sponsors. Sometimes I'm not even doing sponsors, and I just do it out of the generosity of my heart. My kids, I don't live close by, so usually I'm at least an hour and a half away to get to whatever organization it is, and I will go and help collect items for events. I will just really give time to help whatever the event is, or the the program. And sometimes I even help recruit volunteers for the organizations. I've done that as well. And it usually comes because folks meet me and they're like, oh, how can I help? Oh, you have all these connections to nonprofits. Where can I jump in? And I try to think about their purpose and where they fit. And I say, oh, you would be good with this organization. And again, same thing with you and me. We've connected with some folks. I've connected her with some. She's connected me with others. And we've done it very strategically because we know what would work. And, oh, I just met with this person and you would be a great fit with this person. And we think about that when we're
We also say
connecting.
no.
Yes, yes. We have to say no. Yes. Yes. And she does a lot of the same stuff. She doesn't write the grants now. I just came on her advisory council
Mhm.
and I'm going to be doing some grant writing courses with her. And that's going to be amazing for the members. I think that's been great because it helps businesses and nonprofits. It's all about the same again.
And I've heard from nonprofits say they're gonna take the course, even though they've already written grants, because they're like, you know what, grant writers should do it all the time, no more than we do. So I'm sure we're gonna learn some tips and
Yes.
tricks.
Yes, and again, the reason that I'm in this role, because I worked for nonprofits exclusively, just for like one, I was in different roles and leadership roles where, you know, I had to multitask. I had to find the sponsorships, the event sponsors, the monthly fundraisers, and also had to make sure that some grants were done as well. And also make sure that the programs were happening and that the people we were serving were happy and healthy and thriving. And it's a lot of work on nonprofit organizations. And a lot of the times they bring me in because there's just not enough manpower in these organizations. There's usually one founder or maybe 3 staff members, and everybody is kind of in their lane of what they need to do. And there's just not enough time. So
There is one thing I'm gonna look at the time real quick here. We just got a
Mhm.
little bit of, I gotta ask the question. I gotta ask this question, okay? This question was actually just, it's not a question that was asked directly of me, but it's a topic. And I know what your answer is, but I'm gonna let you answer.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So nonprofits oftentimes will see a grant and they just see the money and they want to go for it. Even if they can qualify the grant.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they need to consider, will it change my nonprofit? In some way, will it alter my purpose? And this is not a good choice to apply for this grant.
That's a really good question. That's a very good question. So the answer is yes. It definitely should be taken in consideration more often. I try to consider that when I'm looking at grants, especially in the beginning when I bring on a new client. I take time to do the research and sit down with the client, provide a 12-month grant schedule with grants, with their mission and their focus, with the grant cycle date, so they can consider on their team how they want to move forward. Because again, that question I think should come up more. It does, because, you know, especially I'll just say some grants can really have an impact on what your vision is to theirs. And it may not be the same. And even though that might be like money, maybe that you'll get in the next couple of months after you've written it and you've got through all the steps, it may help you then, but down the road, it may hurt the luster of your organization.
So it can actually have a negative impact on the long-term goal.
Yes, I think so. When I'm thinking about all the grant makers and the grants that I write, you know, if you're looking for the short term and you're just trying to find a financial fit for the moment because you have these plans and you're not thinking long term, sometimes that can backfire with that problem because, you know, there is a lot of red tape with grants, especially the ones that have those post grant reports, because the ones that have the every quarter reports, they really want to know what's happening. And if you don't do it, you don't qualify for the next grant cycle. And there's rules to them. Just like agreements, a lot of grants will have different agreements that you have to have in place to tackle what's going to happen if this does happen and you do get the grant award. So it's really important you know what you're walking into, and it's not just about the money. It's about what you see as your organization, and then what you see long term. And then you also want to know that if you want a relationship with that grant maker, it really aligns with your mission, and you don't want that to change.
100%. And I want to thank you, Michelle. And one of the things I talk about with purpose is purpose alignment, which
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Obviously, you
can't
can tell,
tell.
yes.
But you know what else? The other important piece, passion.
Yes, yes.
We're very
Yes,
passionate.
I was gonna
people.
say that earlier and I forgot. I got a little nervous there, but yes, passion. Passion says a lot. I can see her passion every time we've had a meeting. And just really, she reminds me of your purpose. And she's like, what is your purpose today? What are you trying to accomplish? Remember? And I'm like, yes. And the same thing with her is she's caught me on a couple sayings as well. And there's passion there. Yes, again, money makes the world go round, but this is not that kind of job, or we would be, I hate to put our lawyers out there, our doctors, but those are way more high-end professions than us. We're just trying to change the world, have an impact, and share our passion with others and their organizations and businesses. And I think that's really what makes our collaboration great. I'm not sure what the future holds, but we're definitely a great
Changing
team.
the world.
Changing the world.
Well, I want to thank you, Michelle. This has been awesome. You're gonna be on again. You know that, right?
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
I don't
And
think
same
that's a
thing for me. Yeah, yeah. So you got to stay tuned because she'll also be on my show later today with another great leader, and it's going to be awesome. So stay tuned to that as well.
I think hashtag women empowerment.
Yes, that's what I told my husband this morning. Yes, yes, definitely.
Well, so thank you everybody for joining us with the Evolve Together with Empower People show. Don't forget you can follow Empower People. Go online, MPWRPeople.org. That's empowerpeople.org. You can also find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Don't forget hashtag Empower People. And Michelle, thanks again, and let's evolve together.
Yes.